Hello and welcome to City, a program where we're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at the exciting people and programs that make Long Beach City College the place to be. You're going to meet and learn about some fascinating people that otherwise you'd never have a chance to run into on the street, people you're going to want to spend some time with. So please, stay tuned. We're going to have two very exciting guests right after this.
Hi, I'm going to be up here for a while, so let's chat. Sure, I was NBA Rookie of the Year, and I went to the Olympics twice. But I also played the piano, sax, and even got my college degree in mathematics. And I'm not bragging, just making a point. I couldn't have done all this on drugs. And I couldn't wear this. See, I'm also Navy Lieutenant Robinson. How's that for hang time?
Welcome back to City. Our first guest on today's program is the Geography Department here at Long Beach City College. Please, let's say hello to Dennis Napier. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Dan.
Thank you very much for coming down today.
My pleasure.
My first question to you comes from my being in high school and going, what's your class you have now? Geography. Nobody ever said, geography, I'm going to geography class. Why geography? What got you into wanting that to be what you did for a living?
Well, it was actually just an accident. I was a freshman in college, and I happened to just take a geography class, and the instructor that I had happened to make it exciting, and I got excited about it, and I've been in geography ever since, and that was my first semester in college. But geography is just one of those things that most people don't know about, because most people that teach geography are not geographers. But if you get it from a geographer, it will be a lot different.
Now, I'm thinking, how could geography ever be exciting? You said this man made it exciting. How did he and how do you?
Well, what you have to do is that most people have the impression that geography is you just need to know where things are. And that's not it at all. You need to know where things are, but what geography is explaining why things are where they are, whether they happen to be cultural things or physical things. And that's the exciting part, understanding why they're located where they happen to be.
Now, I understand that you do a lot of traveling.
I do a lot of traveling, yes.
Did you decide because you were a geography teacher you should decide to travel, or did you always love to travel and this fit in nicely?
Well, it fit in very nicely. I've always enjoyed traveling. When I was younger, my parents traveled quite a bit, not extensively throughout the world, but throughout the United States. And it was just something I was very interested in, and when I got in geography, it was just a perfectly natural thing. And now, when I travel, I just really get to do geography, but it's in the place where it really happened, and very, very meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm. You travel every year?
Every year. We usually travel, try to do at least 2 major trips every year, and then at least a couple of smaller ones, but I've been doing at least 2 major trips every year.
What's a major trip?
Major trip would be when you're gone at least 2.5 or 3 weeks at least, and you're out of the United States.
Okay. And then a small trip where you do a lot of weekend things?
Yeah, I do weekend things. We usually try to do 2, sometimes 3 weekend trips per semester for the people here in the Long Beach area. And then we do things like Grand Canyon for a week, northern Arizona, places like that. So that would be sort of an intermediate type trip.
When you travel, are you able to say, I'm traveling for fun, this is a blast, or are you always thinking, I'm a geography teacher, the Grand Canyon, look, it's shifted a little, I should change my map when I get home?
No, I don't really look at it that way at all, but what I try to do in the trips is that the people that go with me are generally people that are a little more interested in travel than just the average traveler. And so what they would really like is they'd like to get a little bit more information about the people that are in the areas that we travel to, about the physical geography, perhaps even weather, climate, things like that, and that's the thing that I actually provide them with, and they seem to enjoy it very much.
So it's not just capitals and places,
No.
It's actually custom?
I mean, it's not capitals and places at all, as a matter of fact. I hardly ever mention that. We try to talk about the people that are there. We try to talk about the physical environments that are there. I'm particularly strong in the study of climatology and in landforms, so I try to point out all those things, particularly with the development and origin of landforms in particular regions or particular areas that we visit, along with the cultural aspects that sort of fit in with that.
Are things like that constantly changing? Do you find yourself learning every time you go back
Oh
to
yes,
a place?
and well, not only do you learn if you go back to the same place again and again, but you also find that there are already, there's so many new places to go all the time. You're always learning, and they're never quite the way you thought they would be, even if you've read about them, and even if you've been there a couple of times, you always notice things that are different about the people, and that's what keeps it exciting. And you can go to the same place more than one time very, very easily.
This, I would think, is an exciting time to be a geographer. It must be expensive, too. Have you had to buy a lot of new globes over the last couple of years?
Well,
new
no,
books, new maps?
Thankfully, Long Beach City College has purchased most of them for me.
Oh, how lucky for you. Isn't that nice?
But basically, yeah, we've had to update most of our maps. Some of them not been totally updated yet because they still keep changing. But yes, we've had a complete change, like the Soviet Union situation and now how it's changed, and in Yugoslavia and places like that. It's incredible. But that's just one of the things that happens in geography.
You were telling me earlier that you had been to some of these places prior to the Berlin Wall or the Iron Curtain falling.
Well, as far as like we had been discussing the Eastern European trip that I did this last summer, and I had been fortunate enough to have been in most of those places before the things really changed in 1990. And it's just really quite remarkable to see the kinds of changes that are occurring, and they're not always good necessarily, but it's just real interesting. Most of them are, but it's just real interesting to see all the kinds of changes that are taking place in these various areas. And perhaps maybe one of the most interesting things is that I was lucky enough to spend 3 weeks in Yugoslavia just the year before all of this mess occurred. And you'd never believe the kinds of things that are taking place there now relative to my experience when I was there. The people were all great, very nice, and I enjoyed it very much. And I just have a hard time believing, even though I know the history, have a hard time believing that all these problems could be existing.
Compare for us, if you could, what it was like to be there before all this. Now, have you been back since it has occurred?
Yes.
In the middle of it all?
Yeah, no, not to Yugoslavia, but to the Eastern European portion, yes.
Is it, my impression is that they're all very poor, they're all mad at each other, but they're buying Coca-Cola.
It's not quite like that. It really is the thing that you notice more than anything. You can tell they know the freedom. You can feel you don't have all of the restrictions on you that you had before. You can just tell that you're in a country that is basically free. It does not have all of those restrictions it did before, and the people can sense that. Now, economically, they're hurting. There's a lot of adjustment that they're having to go through. They're adjusting to it relatively well, but it's not something you do fast. This is something that takes several years. This is nothing you do in 2 or 3 years. This is 5, 10 years. And not everyone is happy with it, but overall, the people seem to be very pleased with it.
Is it a place you'd recommend, those of us looking to travel someplace
interesting? It would be a place I would definitely recommend, but I would recommend almost everywhere to travel.
You would?
But Eastern Europe is really a very interesting place.
What's the favorite place you've ever been? Do you have one? That might sound strange.
That's a very interesting question. It really depends upon what it is that I really want to do when I go to a particular place, because certain areas of the world are more conducive to rest and relaxation. There are vacations where you go on where you really work. You really have to do a lot of things, and you're busy all the time, and you come back much more tired than when you leave, believe me. But I think that if I were to select a couple of places that I've probably enjoyed as much as any in my entire life, probably would be the country of Peru in South America, and probably Thailand. And then I happen to, for my R&R, I love Hawaii.
I love Hawaii too, and that's just exactly what it's for.
That's R&R for me is Hawaii.
And you set up tours?
Yes, that's correct.
How did you get started doing that?
Well, when we say I set up tours, it's basically that I organize them. All of this is basically done through the college. And what happens is that I contact different people. I establish the itineraries that I believe that I would like to do, and I go through the school and get the approval and make sure that they think that the trips that I'm doing are fine and are acceptable. And we've never really had any problem agreeing on that. And then what I do is that I start developing my itinerary, and then I start contacting through various travel agents, what we're going to do and what bus companies we're going to use, what airlines we want to use, what hotels we're going to stay in. And you have to put the basics together first, and then I sort of put once you have the skeleton in place, then I start making the decisions about what are we going to do on Tuesdays and what are we going to do on Thursdays, and you try to make it as interesting and as formative as you can, and also try to make it as economically feasible as possible.
Well, now I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
I would think that for a college student, it'd be a pretty expensive undertaking, dude.
It is.
Do you get a lot of
It
students
is,
to go, though?
and no, I do not get many students to go. What happens is I get most of the students' parents and grandparents to go. And the students get their chance at it later on in life.
I guess okay. Or
when
Mom,
they have a
bring
little
me
bit
back photos.
when they have a little bit more money. But we do have occasionally have students that go with us, and on weekend trips we have students go with us quite frequently. But on the longer, more extensive trips that are expensive, most students can't afford to do it. But their parents and grandparents certainly love it.
And then I'm sure you love going with them.
Oh, I enjoy it very much.
Is it a rough it kind of trip? I mean, there's some places, I mean, I've gone where it's just been a blast to never stay in a hotel. You backpack, you stay in it.
Basically, my trips are not like that. Basically, my trips are hotels where we stay in tourist class or first class type hotels, where you do have a shower and things like that, and a nice bedroom,
Makes
and
it
a
nice
good place
on the
to
bus,
eat.
I guess.
And yes, but no, we do not do what you would say is more of the outdoors. We do a lot of outdoors trips, but we end up being in a nice hotel in the evening.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, especially as if you're getting the parents and grandparents to go, they'd be more interested in that.
Yeah, it works out very well, actually.
You travel, you go on these tours, and it would seem to me that would have to make you a better geography teacher or professor than if you were just someone who was reading about these places. Do you find it enhances what you do?
I think it does very much. I certainly hope that it does. I get good feedback from a lot of my students. They're generally sometimes quite surprised at how extensively I have traveled, because I have traveled in most areas throughout the world. And it just adds that other dimension, or it puts that extra little bit of depth where you can add this little story about what happened to you in this place or what happened to you in that place, and what a horrible problem you had in this place or in that place. And I think the students appreciate that very much and can relate to that very, very readily.
Are your classes set up where you can share those kind of stories? I mean, I remember my geography or my science type lectures in college. There were 300 people, and the professor was this little speck down there dancing. Dick, 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 we got the quiz, you got to know it. Are you able to, is your class set up that way?
The way the classroom size is for the particular classroom that I use all the time in my geography classes, there can never be more than 52 people in that class, and that's exactly the way I like it. I do it sort of on a personalized basis, and I like to talk to the people when I lecture to them, and I ask questions in class and things like that. So for me, I could do a lecture hall class. I don't think I would be nearly as effective, and it allows me to bring in a lot more of my personal experiences and things like that, and I prefer the smaller classroom setting, to be very honest with you, and I think I'm much more efficient and much more effective that way.
What could I do if I wanted to study with you and I took geography and I said, you know what, I want to be a geography major, I love this. What could I grow up to be if I were a geography major?
Well, actually, probably many more things than most people realize. Of course, you could go into teaching. That's one thing. But probably, at this time, more geographers probably go into the field of planning. Various types of planning, whether it's urban planning, city planning, recreational planning, or whatever it may be. A significant number of geographers go into the field of cartography, which is map making. A significant number of them go into all types of government jobs and work for the federal government.
It's not limited to just studying and reading books.
No, it's not at all. It's open to a lot of other things other than just being like what you'd consider to me to be a geographer that teaches school. It's much, much different.
Well, Dennis, I want to thank you. I mean, I had no idea that it was that involved a subject. To me, it was just names, dates, and capitals and things. So thank you. I know if I do want to take that geography class, I hope that those 52 seats aren't all filled. Thank you, Dennis,
Dan.
for being with us.
I appreciate it very much.
We'll be right back with another guest. Please stay tuned.
Hi, I'm gonna be up here for a while, so let's chat. Sure, I was NBA Rookie of the Year, and I went to the Olympics twice. But I also played the piano, sax, and even got my college degree in mathematics. And I'm not bragging, just making a point. I couldn't have done all this on drugs. And I couldn't wear this. See, I'm also Navy Lieutenant Robinson. How's that for hang time?
Welcome back to City. If you're out there watching our program and you're wondering, you know, hey, I'd really like to go to college, but I don't have any money, I've messed up in school, I don't think that anybody will take me, we have some good news for you. We have the director of a service organization here at Long Beach City College, the EOPS. His name is Jim Poston, and Jim has some good news for you. Jim, welcome. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us about the program. First of all, I said EOPS. What does that stand for?
Well, that stands for Extended Opportunity Programs and Services, and it just works out to be an acronym to get people's attention to focus on getting to college.
Mm-hmm. And so people know who you are. You're the man in the trailer, right?
Right. We affectionately call it the EOPS trailer.
Okay.
In parking lot C.
And what does your program do? Who can it help?
Well, our program is basically a program that's searching for people who perhaps may not have done very well in high school, less than 2.5 grade point average, that type of student. And also we're looking for students that just need us. And our office actually operates as a haven for anyone that feels that they want to come to school and have an opportunity to study and become students. Our doors are always open. We never turn anyone away. We always find some way to provide a service for them.
Now, when you say a service, is it a full service? Books, tuition, all that? Is this the kind of thing you can provide?
Yeah, what we do, a number of them, we provide free books for them. And also a number of them we provide counseling services, tutorial services, learning skills classes, and other types of workshop settings we develop for them. Priority registration, so that they make sure they get the classes that they need in order to succeed.
You said we're looking to help anyone we can. Some people have poor grades for whatever reason, and those are people who obviously we would like to try to get. But what about people who really have, quote unquote, messed up? I mean, they're in jail, or they're in a gang, or their situation has prevented them from even finishing high school. Is there hope for them?
Yes, definitely. Our program, not only here at Long Beach City, but statewide, because it is a statewide program, have been very successful in reaching out to people like that. As a matter of fact, on our campus right now is a young lady who was associating with gang type, and she came to City College. We've helped her. Other people have helped her as well. But she's carrying about a 3.7 grade point average now and is involved in the Associated Women's Students Club here.
Wow. And how did you find her?
Well, we found her, we really didn't find her. It was through another program called Cities and Schools, and she was introduced to us. Our vice president brought her to our office and said, "Can you help her?" And we said, "Of course we can." And we just started from that particular point.
And how long has she been with the program?
She's been with the program now for about a year and a half.
Will she get an associate's degree then through here, and you prepare her to go on to further education,
yes,
hopefully?
That's the goal, is to help her to get an associate's degree and then move on to four-year school. And what's interesting about this particular person I'm talking about is a lot of controversies in her life, not just personal things, being in association with a gang or something, but just family, the general struggles of family life and trying to get through helping to support her family. At one time she was working a couple of jobs just to help out her family, and now that's sort of smoothed out a little bit, and she's doing very well.
Well, now here's someone who, I don't know her, but perhaps if she was running with a gang, she would have never gotten an opportunity to have a good job, provide for a family or herself. And yet here, she's in this program now, and you say getting a 3.7. I think a lot of people have the opinion, well, if you're in a gang, you're probably stupid, you probably wouldn't amount to anything anyway. And here's proof that that's not the case at all. I'm sure you find that with more than just this woman. I mean,
that is exactly true, because I could relate to you countless stories. I've been with the program since 1979, and also I was with another program similar to that here at City College, and there are a number of students that people just give up on and just feel that, well, they stereotype them and put them in a cast and they can't make it. And those are the people that myself and my staff, we just love to get them into our office because we cry with them, and we laugh with them, and when we finish doing that, then we figure out a solution how to help their problem, how to solve their problems.
It sounds like it's a very challenging job for you.
It is very challenging. I think I was prepared for this job, though, because I adopted 5 children some years ago and raised them up. They didn't have parents, raised them up, and they all most of them got through college. And it's sort of like been in my psyche to want to help people. And I recruited people to work for me in the office that sort of have that as a criteria, really wanting to assist and help. And we have a great staff, great staff.
I would think that it must be heartwarming to see someone come from nowhere or a bad situation, and you can give them the opportunity to succeed. Do you have, what's your success rate? I mean, are there failures also? Do you find that you try to help someone, it just doesn't work out? How do you react to that if that happens?
Yes, you know, with any program, you're going to have some people who are failures, if you will. Right. Yeah. It's sort of like, I sometimes hesitate using that word because even if we touch them and they didn't succeed and get an AA degree, they really are not failures because, you know, to some extent they came to us and we helped them and so forth. I remember one particular young man who was in the same program as a young lady, and he came with us, and for 3 semesters straight, he'd start taking classes and he'd drop out. He just couldn't get it together. And then one semester he charged into our office and said, "Guess what? I finished all of my classes." Now, he only got C's in the classes, but we all just applauded and hugged him and just loved him because he accomplished something, he finished something that he'd never done before.
You love your job, don't you?
I love it. Every day, my wife and I have a lot of discussions about work and with other people as well. I look forward to coming to Long Beach City College every day because I love what I do. I get a great deal of satisfaction out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We're sitting here, you're talking, we were talking about other things before we started taping, and we were talking, and suddenly when you started telling the story about this young man, your face, I'm sure the people at home can see it, your eyes start sparkling, and it's just obvious that this is a great thing for you.
Well, that's true. I keep, in our office on each desk, we have a box of Kleenex tissues because we all cry a lot because we get really emotional about some of the things that happens. If I might, I'd like to tell you about another young man. I'm going to call his name Patrick Collins, who was on our program, and this young man now is at USC in the business school.
Oh, wow.
Now, the interesting thing about Patrick was he had the smarts to get the grades, but he is a single parent. I think he had 2 or 3 children, and then he adopted another child from a family member that needed his assistance, and he stuck it out. And many a days he was in our office and other offices on campus as well. But we like to look at Patrick, and we're really proud of that. You know?
It can be done. Now, I'm sitting at home, touching my microphone and making the sound man go, "Hey, what did you do that for?" I'm sitting at home, and I'm watching this program, and I say, all right, I'm in that situation. I want to get in touch with Jim Poston. I want to go to Long Beach City College and try to change my life. What do I do?
Okay. Usually what I tell people when they ask me that question, because I'm well known on this campus, I tell them to tell that person to either come to the campus and ask for the big guy. And most people know who the big guy is. And they'll direct them to the OPS trailer. And my staff is very, very concerned about expressing a "may I help you" type attitude. Anyone that I hire, if they don't have that type of attitude in the beginning, I let them know that, well, you can't work for us, because whoever walks in that door, I don't care what they look like, what their ethnic background is, how they're dressed, I want you to have a "may I help you" type attitude. And so when those people come, that's what we do, and we sit down and sort out what we can do to help them.
If I do want to come to you and say, "Jim, please help me, I want to go to school," what do I need? Are there any particular criteria? Who meets the criteria to be in your program?
Basically, our program is, we're seeking low-income citizens, people who don't have a lot of money and can't afford to go to school. That's the basic criteria. English spoken as a second language. They're in their home if English is not their native tongue. People who are on AFDC. We've just recently been successful in obtaining a grant of where we're going to assist AFDC parents who have children that are under 6 years old, and it's been a successful program throughout the state. We're pretty excited about this one because we're going to take these women or men, because you could have men single parents as Patrick, and we're going to help them get off of that thing and become tax-paying citizens, so to speak. So we're looking forward to that.
Now, I know there are no guarantees that if someone takes your program or, that they will end up with a good job or with a degree, but do you have help for them along the way, to help them get reacquainted and reaccustomed with being a student?
Yes, we do. We have a class that we require them to take. It's a learning skills class, and it's sort of like a college prep class to learn how to find your way through college, provide them study skills, and to know exactly what department on our campus to go to for assistance. And once again, the teachers that teach that class are like our office staff. They're just very into wanting to help people.
What about job placement?
Well, we work through job placement. We have a job placement service here. And
completely unaffiliated with you.
Right, exactly. But our students are referred there, and they're able to go there and look for some assistance as well. Our main focus is to help them to get transferred or to help them to get an AA degree so that they're employable.
If you could make the program better in any way from it is now, what are your hopes for the future of this program?
Well, I hope that our program will be able to obtain an additional building other than the trailer.
That would be nice.
Yeah, and be sort of like in the center of things, where the students are, so that we're there and they can see us and we're accessible to them. I'm looking forward to that, and also I'm looking forward to perhaps when we get out of this tight financial crisis, to have more counselors that are full-time working in our program, because that's one of the backbones of our program.
Well, Jim, I hope that someone watching this will be able to get a sense of hope that there's a college education and a new life available to them, and thank you for doing what you do, and thanks for being our guest today. Good luck.
I appreciate being here, and thank you, and just tell the people to look for the big guy.
Look for the big guy. All right. The big guy's name is Jim Poston, EOPS Director. Go look for him, and he'll really help you out. That's it for today's program. Thank you very much for joining us here on City. We'll see you next time.